Hi, everyone, and welcome to the USA TKD 2021 US Open. I'm National Coach Barbara Brand, along with everyone's Poomsae pal, Miyako Yerick. How are you doing tonight, Miyako?
I'm great. I'm super excited to get this junior and cadet session started. We had something like 300 athletes submit videos to compete in this year's US Open, so we have a ton of athletes to get through. We actually have 4 whole episodes just of prelims. So we're going to kick off today's episode with the first flight of the cadet males and then the first flight of the cadet females.
I know everyone's super excited to watch this episode, so let's go.
All right, we are kicking off our US Open Junior Cadets today with the male recognized cadet flight 1, the black belts here.
Up first, we have Francio Colon from Florida. He trains at American Tiger Martial Arts under his coach, Kathy Doe.
Hey! Hey!
Yeah, that was a very thoughtful pace from Francio. Let's see how he does. 7.13, starting off with a good score already.
Quite flexible here. He's throwing up those side kicks pretty easily.
Right. I think most athletes would prefer the order that the Poomsae are required in this division, with Paul Jung coming first and then choreo. I think it warms everybody up, and it's a little bit easier in this order, I think, than if it was reversed.
I hope everyone is enjoying the US Open. This is a new way to do it for us here. We have 3 sessions. The seniors and masters went a couple weeks ago. We just saw Kathy Doe, the coach here for Francio, won her division. So now we get to see the juniors and cadets, 12 to 14, 15 to 17-year-olds. And then there's a whole 3rd session coming up 2 weeks from now.
So that was choreo from Francio Colon. He had a 6.8. He has a lot of potential in his flexibility. So I'm expecting good things from him coming up. He finishes with a 6.965. This is Enoch Choi from World Champion Taekwondo Amity in Connecticut.
It's so interesting to see some of these athletes we've seen at our events last year. And I remember Enoch's name, but he looks about a foot taller from 4 months ago.
Yeah, and he has a much more strength. So he's really pouring on the power in Paul Jung. This form lends itself to using a lot of power, a lot of straight line movements.
Yeah, it's doing really great. Look at the power in that last bar coming through. Really nice finish there.
So big score, 7.93. Huge jump from our first athlete. So from 7.13 to 7.93 on Paul Jung.
That's right. And if you're just joining us, maybe one of your family members is competing today, sent you this link. Our scores are out of 10, 40%, 4 points. are going to be accuracy and then 60% on presentation. In the first session with the seniors and masters, we did see some scores creep into the 8s, even as high as an 8.3, I think was the highest combined score that we saw. So we are seeing a wide range of scores from the judges this year at the US Open, probably because of the new leadership that we have on the referee team. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see if that carries over now. We have new set of referees check the beginning of the division to see who those referees are. And then we drop the high and the low score for each one and average those middle 3. So that's how Enoch was able to get such a high score there, is because he had both a strong accuracy as well as a strong presentation.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he'll score as high in choreo, but boy, he really turned on the height and power in. Oh, actually, look at that, a little bit higher, 7.97 for Enoch Choi. And finishing with a 7.950. She had really beautiful side kick alignment and extension. Let's see how Jaden Cho does. Jaden is from Virginia, and he trains at the Kim Min Kyung Taekwondo Academy.
Jaden is 12, so it might be his first time in this division, the cadet division, 12 to 14 years old, especially for our young athletes who are just aging up into this division. This is the first time they have the chance to make the national team that competes on like the world championship type level. The younger athletes, the youth 10 to 11, we don't have a national team slot for that age division. So this is a big opportunity for some of these 12-year-old athletes aging up.
Paddle.
So that was Jaden Cho from Virginia. He gets a 6.360.
시작.
So these two kicks are intended for the knee and the head. So we have to make sure we're super accurate. Sometimes athletes kick almost to the floor on those. And it's actually harder to get the second kick off when you kick so low on the first one. So the idea is to go to the knee and then drive that knee up toward the second kick. He's a little shallow on some of these stances, so maybe a little bit lower, a little bit longer in general. I'm sure just spending a little time with his coach will do wonders for his technique. He clearly understands the Poomsae, right?
Yeah, and his legs are so long, I think maybe he just doesn't quite realize how long those stances need to be for his body as he's growing.
So Jaden got a 6.36 for Paul Jung, and now a little bit higher, 6.4. So he'll finish with a 6.38. And up next we have Silas Min. Silas is from North Carolina. He trains at Kim's Taekwondo Center with Master Soo Young Kim.
I remember Silas from last year's tournaments. He just comes out with such composure. That first line coming towards the camera, such intent, good power.
Well, he probably understands that there are many different body types in this division, the kids at different growth rates. So he's a little bit more of the smaller end of the continuum of the athlete height. So he really has to pack on a lot of power. His timing is really nice. No rush at all. Good job to Silas Min from North Carolina. He gets a 7.3. So the second highest score so far for Paul Jung. Ooh, nice reach with that one. Even better on the left side. He pulled it a little bit because of the balance, but that was a really nice kick. It's a little easier time on the right side kicks in general.
Yeah, he has really great flexibility. I think just making sure that on the way up on the side kick, there's good control and a little bit more power. It looks like he just kind of really easily swings that leg all the way up there, but it's not a controlled extension, sort of like the kick part at the end is just missing. But he has great flexibility. I'm sure just over the next couple of years, really continue to work through that side kick will just help the presentation, but really good score.
Yeah, so 7.3 for the first one and now 7.36. So he'll finish with a 7.33 and now into second place. Up next, we have Joseph Kim from Texas. He trains at Lee's US Taekwondo under Master Un Lee.
Stop.
Here's another example. We talked a lot about this in the senior master division, but on those 8 counts, we want to start working now at this age to get those hips and core to rotate for the whole 8 count. Holy cow, that front
You
kick.
see that front kick?
Ooh.
He has a lot of flexibility. He needs to add the foot position in there along with that kick. But wow, what great potential on those front kicks.
I'm excited now for choreo.
Pro.
Yeah, it's deceptive. You don't think the legs are going to go out like that, and then they just keep going. That's Joseph Kim with a 6.86. Got dinged a bit on the accuracy, but his presentation scores are pretty good.
Stop.
Yeah, just like we thought might happen. He's got really good reach on the side kicks. Just needs to make sure the knee chambers before he kicks up there.
Taking a very measured tempo. He's not rushing, but because he's going a little bit slower, I feel like he's losing some of the connections that should be there.
Right, so look on this kick. Let's see if he retracts this one. The first one didn't retract. Let's see if he can get this one to bend back after the kick. So it's coming down a little bit straight leg, so he just has to remember to retract it, which will look exactly like his chamber. So maybe he can work on the chamber as well and make the chamber and the retraction look exactly alike.
A little more shoulder turn there on the last bar, especially because they're going away from the camera. We can't see those hand techniques. We want to see some core engagement, shoulders turning in those last moves.
So that's Joseph Kim. He got a 6.86 and now a little bit higher. Good for him. 6.9 for choreo. And he'll finish the prelim round at 6.88. Up next, we have Zachary Tull. Zachary's from Texas and also trains at Lee's US Taekwondo with Master Un Lee.
Hey!
He has a nice long stance here, but needs just a little bit more bend in that front knee.
Right, just dropping those hips a little bit lower make all the difference in the world.
Held on to that rotation. We don't see that very often. No precept for him on that 270 spin.
Legs are super long. He has a lot of reach in those.
Hey!
Needs to big stance here to get back
Oh.
to his spot.
There's a lot of cheating going on at Paul Jong for sure. So he starts off with a 6.97. So Zachary and the athlete before him, Joseph, are coached by Master Un Lee. And Master Lee was a member of the 2016, 2018, and 2020 World Championship teams. He earned a silver in 2018 and a bronze in 2020. So these athletes have a great mentor and master instructor, Master Lee. He can show them the path. They just have to be willing to put in the hard work.
Yeah, Zachary has a really nice extension after the chamber on the way up on the side kick here. One more look, pow. And a good retraction. I think it was his teammate who just went before him, Joseph, needs to work on that retraction tight into the chamber after the kick. And so just kind of working with each other. It's not always just, taking instructions from your coach, but then take that and talk with your teammates, your friends at the dojang, and help kind of work through some of those harder to do techniques.
자리야? 큰예.
So Zachary gets a 6.9, the same score his teammate received for choreo. And he'll finish with a 6.935.
And here are the standings.
So far, in first place, we have Inuk Choi, followed by Silas Min.
준비.
And who's in third there, Miyako?
시작.
I think it's just by a hair, Francio Colon.
So this is Sebastian Marcotte from New York. He trains under Song Noon Kim.
And Sebastian recently tested and achieved his second Dan black belt at just 12 years old. And something really cool that he got to do is he had a Taekwondo trip and training in South Korea. So that's really cool, getting to go to Korea, of course, the homeland of Taekwondo, and getting to train there. A really great opportunity.
So he gets a 6.1 for Paul Jung.
시작.
One thing will help him right off the bat is learning to pivot on the balls of the feet. That'll go a long way to help him with his balance.
As well as the accuracy score. He has a pretty good upright torso and is working to stay pretty low in these stances. So there's some good things in there. We just have to work on cleaning up some of the foot techniques, no heel pivots, no pre-steps, and then softening up some of these hand techniques to get a bigger volume of motion on the blocks.
So let's see how he does. Sebastian got a 6.1 on Paul Jung. A little bit lower score here, 5.57 for choreo. So he'll finish with a 5.835. Up next, we have Andrew Lee from Florida. He trains at American Tiger Martial Arts. He's a teammate of Francio Colon earlier. And he's also coached by Kathy Doe, who won her division in the US Open.
Here we go, getting some hip rotation.
Nice reach on the front kick.
In 2019, Andrew competed as a red belt at nationals in Minneapolis, and he won a gold medal in red belt youth male Poomsae. So now black belt in the cadet division. He's 13 this year, and opening up pretty strong.
Yep, he gets a 7.2 for Paul Jung.
시작.
He has some pretty good finishing power with his hand techniques.
Oh, nice height.
Yeah, these front kicks are flying forward. Nice center line too.
Right, that's what I'm gonna say. Very accurate, very clean. It's nice to see it over his head on the way back as well. Good height here. Gotta make sure we bend that knee on the way up, or it kind of looks like a swing. I'm really trying to put a lot of hip and core motion into that back line, making sure he shows the power because
차려.
we're on a video recording, so he wants to make sure that it has a lot of movement and a lot of power. He gets a 7.3. So that's Andrew Lee from Florida, and he's going to finish with a 7.27 in this prelim round of the cadet male black belt division. This is Rylan Siverly. Ryan is competing there in Hawaii. He's with Ichthus Taekwondo team, coached by Master Polk Sung Young.
It's such an interesting dojang space. Like a workout space. We got the bob back there, some bow staffs in the background.
Yeah, actually, I've been checking it out the whole time, and I'm almost distracted by all the background.
Yeah, I want to look at all the stuff.
Right, he has really good front kicks, nice and centered and high for his body.
He did start a little bit far back. He could have started closer to the camera so he appeared bigger in screen, especially since he is a little bit shorter for the division. But a solid score here to start us off.
Right, for a world championship, they asked that we'd be 7 mats back, so he's that plus more. And I think he could move up 1 or 2 so we can see him framed a little bit better. We could have appreciated those kicks a little bit more on that first line. He's doing real well. His kicking technique is the highlight of his Poomsae. Stance work sometimes a little bit short.
Yeah, knees caving in a little bit on some of these horse stances. Not quite parallel. But he's getting a really good reach on his kicks. Pretty good volume of motion on the hand techniques as well.
So that's Rylan Siverly from Hawaii. He received a 7.0 for Paul Jung, and now a little lower, 6.93 for Choreo. So he'll finish with a 6.965. Up next, we'll have Samuel Basant from Connecticut. He trains at World Champion Taekwondo in Fairfield Town under Master Gunsu Kim and Kwanjin Ha.
Really
remember
strong
him.
finishing power.
Yeah, I remember him from the Grand Slam. Or was it Summer of Poomsae? One of our virtual tournaments.
Yeah, I'm looking through some of his results. I don't see those two mentioned. But I feel like I remember him also. Wow.
Oh, definitely.
He is having some heel pops on these kicks and here on the transitions, but he's really trying to show the power So this is going to be interesting to the judges. Do they take deductions for some of those little accuracy things, the knee caving, the heel popping up, or do they like the long look of it? Do they like the power coming through?
Right, 7.33. So maybe some of what you said.
Both.
Exactly.
Yeah, that accuracy did dip below a 3. I think in our higher scores, as we head up towards 8, you want that accuracy to be hitting 3 or higher. But he has so much potential here. These kicks are great.
Right, and he's trying to put power into every single technique. That's really good for him. It's unfortunate that this support knee just keeps bending and making his body dip, especially on the left side.
I take it back. I think I like his hand technique power more than his kicks.
Well, the side kick is nice and high.
And his coach is Master KJ Ha, who's been on the national team many times. So I think just working with Coach KJ to soften up a little bit. You don't need power all the way through the technique because then it just looks hard, hard, hard. You need to have a contrast. So softening some of these draws will help make the finish look harder without putting so much effort that you start to get those collapses and heel pops and take the accuracy deductions.
Right, so a few heel pops on the way back. Every time he threw a hand technique, his rear heel came up. So that dropped him down a little bit. I think that last line even 6.84 for choreo. So your body has to have enough stability in those stances to keep you down and level. So he finishes with a 7.085. And up now we have Noah Ortiz. I'm already a big fan because I see him outside what looks like to be a parking lot. So Noah is from California, training with Sky Martial Arts under Master Yoon. It's a little shallow on these stances, and might have something to do with the fact that he's wearing shoes.
Right. So I think the thing with the shoes for scoring is that we can't see the shape of the foot, especially on those front kicks where we need to see the ball of the foot. Sometimes if there's traction on your shoe, you can't pivot as well, so you get double motions. So he might get some accuracy deductions here for that just because of the shoes. Maybe even just moving to the grass and being able to do it barefoot might help with some of those transitions in accuracy.
So if he gets a 5.3, we see the deduction there in the middle for 0.3.
And it didn't look like he went out of screen, so that might be for the shoes. Do you know, Coach Brand?
I'm not sure how the referees looked at it. He's challenged by the fact that he's outside. He has to wear shoes, right? Or his feet will get eaten up probably. But also his camera angle looks like he's set himself up on the ground. So it's a little bit more difficult for him to look strong in certain areas because it's not at his belt height. So give him a lot of credit for probably recording this by himself out there.
And Noah and his brother Elijah are both competing in this tournament, and they're both in this cadet division. Is that true? 12, 13, 14. Yes, had to count ages. But Noah here's 13, and his brother Elijah will also compete.
He gets a 5.37 and another deduction there for 0.3, and finishes with a 5.335. And I'm guessing that, yeah, it's probably going to be those shoes, but boy, I give him a lot of credit for being able to do those two poomsae outside. This is Kobe Pearson from Texas. He trains at World Champion Taekwondo under Hyun Hoon Lee.
Long legs, long arms. Easy on that way up. Wow, no movement on the body.
Up upper body barely moved when he throws out the front kicks. Good, and space this one out just right to not hit those windows behind him. So this is Kobe Pearson's first form, getting a 6.47.
시작.
So he has really great flexibility on the kicks, but we are seeing a little bit of some wide stances coming forward. Accuracy on some of the hand techniques just a little bit off. I'm going to stay low here. A little short there on the front stance.
Right, he's done a lot of the hard work to get the kicks looking pretty smooth and calm. Now he has another set of tasks to take care of, all those stances and all those hand techniques.
Yeah.
Gotta make sure his accuracy is up. Let's see what his accuracy is on choreo.
차렷. 경례.
So we'll see here at 2.47. So he did take a few dings on the accuracy. His presentation, though, is pretty good. So if he builds up that accuracy score, maybe to a 3, we're talking more of a score of over 7. So he finishes with a 6.57. Here are the standings so far with Enoch Choi in first, Silas Min, Andrew Lee, Samarth Basant, Francio Colon, Ryan Siverly, Zachary Toe, and Joseph Kim just behind.
And we'll get to see these standings every 6 athletes. So if you're taking notes like we are, it's sometimes a little hard to catch what the order is, but every 6 athletes will get to see those order.
This is Moses Keller from Eagle River Taekwondo in Alaska. Nice. So one of our earlier athletes in the division was from New York, and Moses is from Alaska. So it's nice to see athletes from all over the country.
That's right. We had a couple from California, North Carolina. It's really great. I don't think we haven't had any international athletes yet. I'm not sure if we do for this division. We'll have to keep watching. But it's great to see athletes from all over the country getting to record either at their dojang, outside like we just saw, in a basement maybe.
So that's Moses Keller getting a 5.6 for Taeguk Poljang. So it looked like he was trying to play it short and fast on the power for the hand techniques. So let's see if he does it the same here. Maybe a little bit more extension on these hand techniques will help him out, and a little bit longer stances in general.
And there's lots of exciting things in the works for USA Taekwondo Poomsae. Of course, the USA Taekwondo Sparring University was just announced a couple of weeks ago. There are tons of classes you can go on and work towards understanding the sparring style for today. But I believe in that notification, they said the Poomsae University is coming. So hopefully in a few months or so, we'll get to have a Poomsae University. We can go in, learn some techniques from some great coaches from around the country on how to improve our Poomsae.
And that will be very exciting. That's Moses Keller. He got a 5.6 and follows it up with a 5.07. So a little bit of work ahead of him to make sure these Poomsae rise to the level where he can be super competitive in the division. He gets a 5.335. Up next, we have Anderson Deng. Anderson is from New York. So yeah, we have one from Alaska now, clear across the country in New York. So lots of fun. He's really going for nice, clean finishes with every single movement.
We have top 2 flights we'll have over 2 days. In a couple days, we'll get to see the second flight. So that's, over 70 athletes for the cadets for the US Open. And Anderson was ranked 19th on the USA Taekwondo ranking system. So definitely in the top, 20 out of 80 or so. That's the top quarter. That's really good. And he's looking really clean here. Looks like he's improved.
Especially in this division, so many talented athletes. So to be in the top 20, top 30 even, it's a really good position to be in. He gets a 7.56, and that's a really great score for that Poomsae. I think that's the second highest score so far, just under Enoch Choi, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. So we're now, Anderson is the 14th to go, and he has the second highest score so far. That's pretty darn good. I think to be competitive with the top athletes, he will have to continue to work on the flexibility of these side kicks. Oh, right leg flying up higher there.
Yeah, a little balance blip on the left one, but it didn't cause him to shorten up the right. Sometimes we have a little off technique, and then on the other side, we're thinking like, should we go for it? And he did, so that was really great.
And of course, they had to record both of these forms in one go. So the rest of Paul Jong's so good, the rest of choreo good. You take that one little hit and just see what the judges think of the overall performance.
So he gets a 7.56, so that's a nice score. And I think that will put him in second place. 7.560 for his total score. Up next, we have Grant Larson from Colorado. He trains at US Taekwondo Center in Aurora under Sean Jones.
Here's some really nice contrast here. That quick step over into the slow motion. Hands coming out a little bit on the kicks. Want to just put those hands on the body. Nice there. That elbow did reach all the way up to face. A lot of athletes just don't quite reach, and the elbow hits to shoulder, but he did a good job there.
So Grant Larson finishes with a score of 6.8 for the first Poomsae.
Stop.
You need to just watch these elbows, make sure they kind of stay inside the body. They coming out just a little bit on some of these moves.
Really trying to push up. Just needs to be a little wider, a little lower in these stances.
Grant's competed in a few tournaments, Colorado State tournament, also the President's Cup in 2019, and he also placed first in Poomsae in the 2020 Seoul Cup. So I'm not sure if that was an online tournament or was in 2020, but there were some in-person tournaments for the first couple of months there.
차렷, 경례.
So that was Grant Larson. Got a 6.8 for the first, and look, a little jump here. So he's got a big smile on his face now. And he finishes with a 6.865. So we're looking to see who's going to make that cut. So what are we taking, Miyako? Top 50%?
Top 50%. I'm actually going to use a calculator. Here we go, just to be safe.
This is Sean Park. While she does that, we'll take a look at Sean Park from Kim's K Taekwondo.
we've
Sean
seen
has
it.
really nice kick height. He just needs to get lower into nearly all of these stances.
Yeah, he has long legs.
Hello.
Just got to lengthen a little bit.
It's tough because all of these athletes are growing maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 inches a night. So it's hard to keep up. But he gets a good score, 7.57. And now that is the second highest score in this division. It was Anderson Deng, but now Sean Park has taken that second place spot. Really hard to reach at this point. Enoch Choi with that 7.93.
Sean has competed in male teams recently, just in the past year, at a few tournaments. And he got a silver in the 2020 Pan Am Championships male team, and Pan Am Open Championships, they got first. And on the Grand Slam, they also got first. So that Grand Slam counted as a major tournament. If you win that, you got on the roster. There are, of course, individual, pairs, and teams. This tournament, just individual. So the winner of this tournament will get a spot on the team roster for the cadet division, but you only get to carry that for the years that you're in the division. So if we had somebody who was a cadet and won last year at the Grand Slam and then aged up into junior this year, then there's no winner on that roster.
Right, so Sean gets a 7.66 on that second form. That's a huge score, and that's going to come and make a big impact on the standings now. 7.615 now moving Anderson Deng into third place. This is Caleb Kalimlim. A great name.
I remember Calyx. He's so tiny and just so much power and clean. Look how low he is. Calyx is my new favorite.
It's a nice stance length. Looks really settled in that stance. Beautiful. Little off on that step, but here trying to clean it up and make it look solid.
They have a little more hip rotation, double pivot there on that big 270 rotation. Wow, he's so low. Holy cow, that front kick. Watch this, low. Boom.
Nice. That posture is really clean, nice and vertical, and that leg coming up right next to his chest. Little narrow on that back front stance, but these back stances are really
No, this
nice.
is super exciting. Look how long. I am excited here. Okay, judges.
Really
what do we
good
got?
stance. He's got to take his back leg with him a little bit on the front stance, make sure it's all feeling nice and balanced. 7.4 for Caleb's on Paul Jung.
Yeah, pretty good presentation there. We just got to get that accuracy up. 0.3, you know, those couple things Coach Brand mentioned, really cleaning. Holy cow. Just got to stop everything.
Oh,
Wow.
that is nice control.
This is exciting.
You should get a nice high presentation score.
He does have a couple double pivots here and there.
That
But
was a really
these
nice
kicks
power,
are great.
that side kick, and this really pushing off the ground, that first one on the left side. Very, very nice. That elbow a little bit high.
So he has a great example of a strong, powerful kick, good chamber, and extension. So he's not just using his flexibility to get that leg up there, but it's going up in the right position in the chamber. Nice extension, that pop of power at the end, and then a clean retraction down into the next stance. I hope we get a slightly higher score here just on that presentation.
And your wish came true. 7.5 for Calix. Got a 7.4 for the first one, now a 7.5. So 7.45. So now in the top 5 athletes. So this is Liam Anderson. So Liam is from YH Park Taekwondo Academy in New York.
Liam is 11, which means he's turning 12 this year. So it's his first year in the division. previously he was in that youth category, which I think is 10 to 11. And of course, for those watching, you're like, wait, you just said he was 11. It is for the whole year. So by December 31st, whatever age you were for that whole year, so on January 1st, you are that age for Taekwondo purposes.
Well, he definitely went for the speed in that form. He receives a 7.17.
And Liam competed in the Summer of Poomsae, where we had all of the divisions, and he finished in 7th place for the youth division. So now having to age up into this cadet division, we mentioned this is a national team division. We get, really strong competitors. So he was in the finals for his last age group. Now moving up, pretty good power, but we're going to have to be a little bit cleaner, a little bit stronger, keep working on those kicks to try and get into the finals here for this new age group. But he is coming out nice and strong here.
I think for Liam, he's got to start from the ground up. So he's got to go back and take a look at those basic stances, make sure they're the right size for his body as he's growing. Right now, he's a little bit short on some of them and a little bit higher than he probably could be. So you need to drop those hips down a little bit more. That's Liam Anderson from New York. He gets a 6.9 on that second Poomsae. So that follows his 7.17 for Paul Jung. He'll finish with a 7.035. Here are standings so far. Ina Choi easily in first, followed by Sean Park, Anderson Deng, Calix Kalimnam, Silas Min, Andrew Lee, Samar Bassam, and Liam Anderson. Those are our top 8 so far, although we're looking for the top 50% of the division. Oh, so here's Elijah Ortiz. This is Noah's brother, right?
That's right.
So Elijah also from California, training at Sky Martial Arts with Master Yoon.
And Elijah is just 11 also right now, so turning 12 this year to be in the cadet division. He also is wearing shoes in that same place outside. So we'll see if he gets a deduction, then we'll know that that 0.3 was for the shoes.
One other thing that they're battling is the sun coming right at him. So it's kind of tough to compete outside where you look one direction, you have the sun in your eyes, and the other direction like this one, he's okay. So you have to constantly flip back and forth in your mind to make the adjustment. So that's Elijah Ortiz from California training outside and getting a 5.47 on Paul Jung. Well, really trying to go with some power.
Yeah, he's doing a lot to try and make sure that his shoulders are turning through on some of these hand techniques so his body isn't square, but in that process, sometimes the torso is falling down too much, like right there. We need that torso to be up nice and tall in the stances, even if you're going to be turning and engaging your core.
He's very flexible, so he has a lot to work with. So that's Elijah Ortiz from California, training with Sky Martial Arts and finishing choreo with a score of 5.0. And there's a deduction there, 0.3 again. So that 5.235, where he beat his brother. There's a little sibling rivalry with the first Poomsae. His brother beat him on the second Poomsae,
시작.
a tie score on the Poomsae. So this is Jonathan Wang from Texas, trains with HC Taekwondo under Brenton Blazik. Just needs to bring this up higher on these uppercuts. Oh, also very flexible.
He actually has some good finishing power on these hand techniques. We just have to do a lot of cleanup work here on some of the stance transitions,
Hello.
making sure that they're long enough. The hand techniques could have a bigger volume of motion, and then working towards finishing in the same place that you started.
And that's Jonathan Wayne gets a 5.84.
시작.
Starting off to the right here for us.
Go.
So he seems to actually have a good understanding of his body and what he's doing. We just have to work on cleaning it up to the sport Poomsae style so that the hands and feet are finishing together. We're not dipping below the belt on some of the blocks. But he has a good click at the end of his hand techniques. All right, he finished way over there to the right. I don't know how he's gonna get over there. Drift to the right.
차렷. 근육.
So that's Jonathan Wayne from Texas. He received a 5.84 for the first Poomsae and now a higher score. Good job. 5.93 for the second. So he's going to finish with a 5.885, a little higher than our last competitor, Elijah Ortiz. This is Isaiah Galvez from Texas. He trains at HK Taekwondo and Team Forge. Nice high jump to start off with.
So I've never actually thought about it. He jumped high there on that front kick coming forward. I've always sort of tried to travel forward rather than up. What are the thoughts there on that front kick coming forward? Is it up or forward?
Well, your body is supposed to travel one front stance forward, right? So you can't
Right.
travel too far forward. And you're kicking the midsection, right? The chest and the head. So you do want to push up for that as much as you can.
I don't think I've ever thought of that. So thank you, Isaiah, for
Nice and level. Nice and level on that back line.
yeah.
Good job to Isaiah Galvez from HK Taekwondo and Team Forge. So he gets a huge score, 7.53. So that looks like just under Sean Park and just above Anderson Deng.
No, just under Anderson too. They're all right there in the 7.5s.
Anderson
Anderson
did.
had a 7.56.
Oh, did he? Anderson did?
I think so.
Oh, okay. I only had 7.5 down. Okay. Nice height here.
Isaiah looks tall for the division. Oh, nice side kick height. Definitely using that height to show his presence and get some good power coming through.
We have a huge score range with this preliminary round, as we might expect. We do have, a handful of students, maybe half a dozen, or I should say athletes, half a dozen athletes in the 7s, but then also a group in the 5s.
Well, that's what's so exciting about an open tournament is anybody can compete. And then what's really nice about having it be on video is that you can go back and watch everybody in your division whenever you want to, as many times as you want to.
So Isaiah gets a 7.2 for choreo, so he'll finish with a 7.365. So we're not sure where the cutoff is so far, but it looks like he will probably be safe. This is Lucas Tan from California with Team Kim Boyo. This is a very good setting for Poomsae. You can see him very clearly without any distraction.
I can't tell if his living room is just bigger than mine was or if he's smaller. But he fits in this space perfectly. Has plenty of room all around him. Thank you, parents, again, for clearing out some space for training and competition.
Really, and with so many tournaments, it's likely that, it's almost an everyday occurrence where parents are moving couches and tables and whatnot just so their kids can practice.
Nice long stance to finish there. A little bit of extra movement in some of the body as he's finishing into the stances, but really going for it.
Do you have his record from past events, Miyako?
I don't have, no, I don't. But I remember him from either the summer, I think it must have been the summer of Poomsae maybe.
Mm-hmm. He's trying to get really low in these back stands, sometimes a little bit short and then low, so it's causing him to look a little bit smaller in his stance than he probably wants to look.
And I don't have his age, but I would guess he's on the 12 side of the spectrum. His uniform is just a little bit big, which if I were a parent, I would buy it big and let him grow into it. But because of that, some of his stances look a little bit knees are caved in. We can't just see the full extension of some of these legs in the stances. Ooh, right at the end there, that's a small stance.
That's Lucas Tan on that beautiful home mat. Thank you, parents, for taking care of him there. He's a 7.26. Nice presentation score, got dinged a bit on the accuracy. So Lucas is going to finish with a 7.180. Up next, we have Brandon Jong from Kim's K Taekwondo in Georgia. A little short. So I'm seeing it's very common in this division. I think it's just because these athletes are just growing so fast. So I think that stance might have worked a few inches ago, but now he's got to adapt.
Right, Brandon is 14 this year, so definitely growing over the past couple of years. He could sink a little bit lower in these stances too. Work on keeping that back nice and straight during the front kicks. But he was on the male team in the Grand Slam that won first place.
Wow, he's 7.37. Very good score.
And I'm going to guess his brother Philip Jung, also from Kim's K in Georgia, is also competing in this division. So we might see him a little bit later. If you haven't seen yourself yet, don't worry. We still have many more athletes. We have, let's see, this is 23rd athlete out of 37. And then the second flight will be going on, I believe, Wednesday. So on episode 3. That left hand was going faster than the right hand.
Nice power demonstration, though, on the back line. So that's Brandon Jong. He had a 7.37, I think, on the first one, and now a 7.47. So he's going to finish out with a 7.420. So now we have over, I think, 12 athletes in the sevens at this point. This is Alexander
스톱.
Withar from Texas.
Easy thing to work on here in this 8 count is engaging the hips and the core. Oh, there was a little bit and then it stopped. Just keep turning the hips. Make these front stances a little bit longer too. Your legs are pretty long. Just sink into those stances.
Maybe a ding for that first kick going to the back, should be up to the head. It looked like it didn't quite make it above the waist. So that's Alexander Withar from Texas. He trains at Master Lee's World Champion Taekwondo. And he gets a 6.56.
스톱.
I think this is the cleanest dojang I've ever seen. So ordered and orderly. Everything's in a place, in a line. So I think for Alexander, we just want to work on consistency for the stances. Some of them are nice and long. Some of them are a little short. The height isn't quite at the same level as going up and down in the transitions. And then some of those core stances, the toes are going out like a not parallel feet. So really just working, like you mentioned, Coach Brand, start from the ground up, work on those stances first, make sure we get really clean, equal stances, and that score will start to jump up.
Oh, little drop there, 6.13 for Alexander. And he'll finish with a 6.345. So here are our standings so far, with Enoch Choi in first, followed by Sean Park, Anderson Degg, Calix Kalinin, Brandon Jong, Isaiah Galvez, Silas Min, Andrew Lee, Lucas Tan, and Samar Basant. Those are our top 10 so far, followed by Liam Anderson, Francio Colon, and the number 13 athlete to number 24 on the screen now.
That's right. So the 11 out of 12 on that first screen were all sevens. So if this is half, about half of the athletes so far, that cutoff is about a 7.
준비.
This is Jacob Varney.
시작.
He's from Florida. He trains at Ong's Taekwondo.
Coach Brand. Jacob here is 14 years old, and he is a 3rd Dan.
Oh, wow.
I don't even know how young do you have to start. That's so impressive. I just got my 3rd Dan like a year ago.
Yeah, he must have started as an embryo.
So thank you to Jacob's parents for putting him in. My parents should have done better, man. What were they doing?
Your poor parents. They had a lot to contend with. This is Jacob Varney from Ong's Taekwondo in Florida.
Sorry, parents. I love you, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, now you see that. 7.2. That's a great score.
Yeah, like we mentioned, that cutoff right now for the top half is around a 7, but we do have a few scores in the 7.0, 7.1. So 7.2 is good for now. We got to boost up a little bit, hopefully here. And we got to see Jacob's coach, Angelito Ong, compete in the first session of the US Open, and I believe he did really well. Always looks very strong, and I remember that he coaches, he referees, he competes. So he is just an instructor with a huge wealth of knowledge. And so glad to see that now filtering down to his students coming out nice and strong in the US Open.
Good job to Jacob Varney. He has a lot of control for a young cadet athlete, especially on those side kicks on the midline. So he got a 7.2 for his first form, and now a little bit higher, 7.4. So he'll finish with a 7.3. This is Evan Yu. Evan is from California. He trains at High Five Taekwondo with Master Zhang Yi.
High Five Taekwondo with Coach Master Yi.
He actually came forward quite a bit. I was worried he was going to be super small on the screen. He's okay here. He could have come forward or started closer to the camera, but not terrible framing. At least the background with that air track there is pretty clear. Ooh. I always love it when the front kicks just go flying up. It's so exciting.
Right. Surprising reach.
Small thing on that front kicks to the back there. Both of them are at head height, which Evan did a good job of, but the first kick, instead of keeping that knee parallel, it dropped all the way down before the other leg went up. But holy cow, look at the score.
7.8. I think that's a second highest score so far, just under Enoch Choi.
He has a pretty good reach on the side kicks, but they are swinging up. So we need to just work a little bit more on keeping a nice tight chamber, getting the dip, and then having the kick go straight out rather than swinging up into the height.
That's Evan Yu. He got a 7.8 for Paul Jong, which is a huge score for this division. And he's going to get a 7.67 for choreo. So he's going to finish with a 7.735.
준비.
This is Logan Large. Logan is from Texas. He trains at Master Lee's World Champion Taekwondo.
Logan's doing a good job here. He's being nice and clean. Pretty moderate with his tempo. I think he could speed it up a little bit, get some connections.
바로.
A good finish for him there. That was a nice line. Logan Large from Texas, getting a 6.93 Paul Jung.
스톱.
Nice reach on his side kicks. A lot of the athletes in this division have really good kick height, but it's the basics that's impacting their accuracy score, mainly around the size of the stance and the power of the hand technique. Or I should say also the accuracy of the hand technique.
have a little bit more
Huddle.
core and shoulders turning there on the last bar again. Really think about bars where you're going
Show.
away from the camera, that you want to show some engagement at the shoulders and core, since we can't see the hand techniques.
So he gets a little bump in the score from a 6.93 to a 7.1. So Logan's going to finish this round with a 7.015. And Miyako mentioned that 7 might be the golden number there.
That's right, but then we keep getting more 7, so it's pushing
Right.
that cutoff even higher.
Yes, this is Yale Song from Virginia. He trains with Master Kim Min Kyung.
We haven't seen too many of these mats in the US Open. We did see some in the Grand Slam Summer Poomsae. I forget what you call them, Coach Brand.
There, if it's like others we've seen, it's a tatami mat. So
Right.
they're originally made for judo practice. So they're nice and soft, a good spot to land on if you fall. But sometimes it's an uneven surface for Poomsae, especially as a tatami mat wears, it doesn't wear evenly. So there might be some little pockets or divots of soft mat combined with a more firm surface. But these look almost new, so probably no problem for Yale as he goes through choreo.
And on his first Poomsae there for Taeguk Paljung, he got a 6.0. Got to work a little bit on these hand techniques. Some of them are not quite in the right position, so making sure if it's supposed to be a low block, a little closer to the knee, not towards the center line, and then cleaning up some of these stances as well. You know, we've also seen, Coach Brand, some of the athletes here, of course, the cadets wear this poom belt, which is half black and half red. We've seen some athletes with the red on top versus the black on top. So what is the rule there? Should the black be on top or the red?
The black.
The black should be on top. Okay. There was an athlete earlier in the division who had the red on top, I think. So next time, we just want that black on top.
So we have Yale Song. He got a 6.0 on the first one and now 5.67 for choreo. He's going to finish with a 5.835. Up next, we have Evan Young from California. He trains with just Taekwondo under Master Justin Wang.
시작.
Nice opening line coming forward. Centered punches, high kicks. Good rotation on the hips here. Nice. It's really good of continuous rotation of the hips and core and shoulders.
Really giving himself lots of time for the full extension of all the hand techniques. Sometimes he waits just a beat too long to do his transition, but I like where he's going with it. He's making sure that he doesn't rush. So that's Evan Young. He gets a nice score, 7.3.
Yeah, that last bar of Paljung, the knees was caving in just a little bit, wasn't quite straight. Like there again, just a little bit. Really reaching for the side kick. Want to make sure that body doesn't dip too low. Great hip power.
Good timing on this line. His hand and foot sometimes not matching up on the finish. Sometimes his foot lands just a little bit before his hand technique. Lots of power on this line.
Couple of these stances just a tad short, but I really like this. I would go higher score here on the second form.
Really trying to put a lot of power in, even with the hip
Oh.
turning. So on that last
Hello.
line, Miyako, do you turn your hip
Can you-
and your core, or hip and torso, or just your torso on that one?
I think in person I might just do torso, but on camera I do a little hip just to show extra.
So you get 7.47 on that second form. So it's a nice high score, 7.385 for Evan Young from California.
준비. 시작.
This is Adrian Alvarez Sanchez from Florida. And Adrian trains at American Tiger Martial Arts under Kathy Doe.
I think I remember in the summer of Poomsae, there was a male team from Kathy's dojang. So I'm not sure if Adrian was one of the three, but I do recognize some of the guys here from her dojang in this division. A little bit long in some of the stances. The cat stances, that back stance was about the same length as the front stance, so the back needs to be a little shorter and then extend into the front stance.
So he get a 6.77 to start off with. That's Adrian Alvarez Sanchez from Florida. Looks good on this line. This is probably the strongest line of his Poomsae so far.
But moving through it very cleanly, we want that contrast, we want the connections where there should be, and then here again we get that nice 8 count breather, natural sound there at the end.
바로.
All right, he's pretty close to the cutoff there. Let's see if
Connect.
he can boost up the second score and squeak into the semis.
He needs a 6.88 or higher, right? So he got a 6.830. So I think he's going to be just under the cutoff mark at this point. So he had a 6.77 first one. So he finishes with a 6.8. So we're looking for a 6.88, which will keep you safe, at least for right now. This is Philip Jong from Kim's K Taekwondo in Georgia.
So this is the 32nd athlete. We actually have a Philip, and I'm sure there's a slightly different way to say it, but we have Philip Jong and then Philip Jong as the 33rd athlete. So this is Philip with one L and an E in his last name from Georgia.
Oh, nice power on that front kick.
Little extra motion. Actually, his head is a little bit forward on some of these stances too, but especially on the front kicks, the head is bobbing forward. We want to keep that neck nice and tight and upward so it's not leaning forward there, but some nice finishing power in his hand techniques. He's just 11, so he's aging up into the division this year, coming out nice and strong.
Wow, 7.37 for Philip Jong.
시작.
Oh,
Ooh.
grief, that was surprising.
Hello. Get getting elbows coming out a little bit too on these front kicks. So head and elbows cleaning up on the front kicks will help overall, but these side kicks, here we go. I think his double side kicks actually were a little bit more poppy.
Oh, that was a nice reach on that right one. It looks like his head's a little forward on that last line. It's Philip Jung with 1 L and 1 E. And he gets a 7.43. Wow, nice boost to his score. So he's definitely in at this point with a 7.4. This is Philip Jung, 2 L's and no E. And Philip trains in New York with Team East under Master Suji Kam.
Nice long stance, good rotation here. He competed in the cadet male team division at the 2020 US Open last year. And he got a bronze medal there. So unfortunately, only individual divisions for this US Open. But hoping to get a good showing here from Philip Jung with 2 L's and no E. Look at that long stance. Nice finish.
Well, 6.87, so really close because you mentioned about 6.88. I'm not sure if that shifted a little bit, but he needs to boost his score on choreo, so this is exciting.
That's right, Philip Jung with 1 L. Just got a 7.4, so that is going to move the score up 1. It's going to be around a 6.9, so we are going to need Philip with 2 L's here. We got to get a 7 here on the second form. Try and sneak in. Good reach on the side kick, but it is swinging into place, almost like a stretching kick. So instead, we want a nice tight knee chamber and then push out onto the kick.
I do appreciate the wider stances on the Jujumsogi, the horse stance, and then the longer stance and the front stance and this top line. Most of the athletes in this division have been cutting it a little bit short, so it was nice to see him go a little bit long and a little bit wide. So he gets a 7.03, so that might be the boost that he needed.
You're right.
And he gets a 6.95, so hopefully that'll keep him safe. Up next, we have Matthew San Antone
준비.
from Ichthus and Kim Masters, UTC in Virginia.
Little more hip rotation here, but pretty nice length. Keeping that front knee bent. Shoulders could turn through. He has a pretty calm demeanor, and then the power comes through on his hand techniques at the very end. Need to just watch that the shoulders don't come up a little bit. I'm going to keep it nice and down.
바로.
But I like the power, the twist on the
Right.
punches really coming through.
Frame, yeah, he's really trying to deliver it at the end of the movement, so
Yeah.
very nice. So Matthew gets a 7.2.
Oh man, that cutoff is creeping up to 7, I think.
시작.
Couple double pivots on these forms. So want to be sure that whenever you're transitioning from a stance into the next stance, that your feet only move once. You don't want to have 2 or 3 pivots in between, just the one. Each time you do that double pivot, we just saw a slight one there, it'll be a minor deduction.
Little swing up on that kick.
Follow.
Very nice choreo from Matthew San Antone.
Sure.
He had a 7.2 for his first
Junior.
Poomsae. And for this one, just a little lower, 7.1. So good job to Matthew. 2 strong forms. And he'll finish with a 7.15. Up next, we have Jake Baldo. Jake is from New York, and he trains at YH Park Taekwondo Academy.
Jake looks really tall for this division.
And I think it's also the camera angle. So he's framed really nicely here. So he's taking up most of the screen, and that's easier for us to appreciate his technique.
Trying really hard to get this hip rotation here. You want to make sure that front knee doesn't lose some of the bend as you do the twist. Really nice height on the front kick coming forward though. Little bit of the head coming forward on the front kicks. Again, just want to keep that torso nice and vertical. Little extra motion on the body here. He's trying to muscle through to the end. You want to keep that nice and clean, no extra motion. But overall, I think that was pretty strong. Yeah, big score.
Wow, 7.36 for Jake Baldo.
Pretty good control on those high kicks to open up here. And now front kicks coming really high. This is a really good frame. Like you mentioned, he's big on the screen here. Keep those knees a little bit wider in the horse stance. So really nice reach on the side kick. It's just a little bit movement. So it gets to the top and then it doesn't stick. It kind of wiggles a little bit at the top. So you want to keep that flexibility. Just work on the strength to be able to hold it in place when you get that kick all the way up there. Or, you know, just kick vertical because then it can't fall because gravity will just hold it in place.
Let's remember these athletes have only been on Earth for 12 to 14 years.
Yeah, but some of them are third dans.
Yeah, that's
true. So.
7.4, big score. Yeah, Miyako has big expectations, so let's make sure that we hit those next time, our next big event. So Jake's going to finish with a 7.380. This is Preston Park. Preston is from New York.
Preston got a silver on our Grand Slam and a bronze at the 2020 US Open. And opening up really clean here with Paul Jung. Slight lean maybe of the torso here. We got to tuck those hips underneath so we don't get a curve in the back. But really great front kick. Looking up, a little bit of some shoulder movement here on these front kicks. Got to keep those shoulders relaxed.
Nice height on front kicks, though.
Yeah, a little bit of muscling the power
Yeah,
all the way
going
through.
for it.
Yeah, so it's forcing that shoulder to come up as you're doing these hand techniques. So relax during the path, but judges are like...
Yeah, they like that effort. 7.83 for Preston Park, really dialing up the power.
That might be the second highest score. Definitely up there in the top here. Big reach on that side kick. I think those trophies there in the back are like taller than he is.
Well, with that 7.83, I think Enoch Choi and the others at the top of the standings are really looking quite closely at this performance.
Yeah, this is super clean here. Could sink a little bit lower in these stances. Also, did you say that the school's name is Preston Taekwondo?
I did.
And his
And
name
so-
is Preston Park.
Right.
It's named after him. It's his Taekwondo school.
It's Preston Taekwondo USA. Wasn't that
Preston,
something?
this is your school.
No pressure. So Preston got a 7.83 for his first one. Look at this, 7.9, and now everybody's sitting up at attention, waiting for the standings to come back up on the screen. So he'll finish with a 7.865. If you remember way back, there he is, Enoch Choi, still in first place. Good job. Followed by Preston Park, Evan Yu, Sean Park, Anderson Deng, Caleb Sklimlam, Brandon Jong, and Philip Jong. Both Jongs there.
And we have just one final athlete. So take a look here. Look at those scores. So
Wow.
one athlete left to go. We're going to see if he can make that cutoff into the semis.
Our last athlete coming up is going to be from World Taekwondo Center in Texas. And this is going to be a big performance by everybody waiting to see if they make the cutoff. This is Sean Oakley Mims, as I mentioned, from World Taekwondo Center in Texas,
시작.
coached by Elva Adams, our 2020 US team member and world champion at the 2020 online World Taekwondo Poomsae Championships.
I think he could extend these front stances a little bit more, make them a little longer. Watch the double pivot there.
바로.
So for Sean, I think we want to soften up those hands a little bit so that we get a nice contrast.
But a good score, 6.9 for Sean.
시작.
Some nice power in some of these hand techniques coming forward. Just need to watch the accuracy. Some of the front stances are looking a little wide. And then some of these, like that hand up punch, a little bit high. So just keep working through some of the accuracy will help boost the score up just a little bit.
Looking for a strong finish here, and maybe raise his score too on the way. He got a 6.9 for the first Poomsae.
바로.
So this is Sean Oakley Mims from Texas, training at a World Taekwondo Center.
수렵. 경례.
And Sean's gonna get a 6.6, so a little drop from his first Poomsae. He's gonna finish with a 6.75. So here are standings for the first flight of the Male Cadet Division. The Enoch Choi in first place, followed by Preston Park, Evan Yu, Sean Park, Anderson Degg, Calix Kalimlim, Brandon Jong, Philip Jong, Evan Young, Jake Baldo, Isaiah Galvez, Silas Min, Jacob Varney, Andrew Lee, Lucas Tan, Matthew San Antone, Samarth Basant, Liam Anderson. Those are our athletes that will be moving on to the semifinal round.
All right, and we are now going to move on to our second division of the night, which is going to be the cadet female. And we're going to have the first flight.
Up first, we have Kira Perigo from Maryland. She trains at S Martial Arts with Master Michael So.
We have 32 athletes in this flight, so we'll take the top 16 into semi. So we're looking for the top 16 scores to move on.
Kira's off to a great start with Taeguk Chill Jump. Taeguk Chill Jump's a tricky form, so her approach was take it nice and easy and make sure that she finished everything. So she gets a 6.44. And we saw the male cadets also do this form, Taeguk Poljung, as their first form. So we have plenty of material for athletes across the country to study.
That's right, and this is our cadet episode. So all of these athletes tonight are 12 to 14 years old this year. So they could be 11 right now, but they're going to be turning 12 at some point. Nice and flexible front kicks. Also, if you're new to watching Poomsae, maybe one of your grandkids is competing here in this episode, the young women will wear these red pants for this division, the 12 to 14. And the boys that we just saw, the 12 to 14, wear light blue or darker blue pants. And then when you age up into the next division, the pants will change.
So Akira gets a score of 6.340 for Taeguk Poljung. So she'll finish with a 6.39. Up next, we'll have Madison Purser from Texas. She trains at Golden Eagle Taekwondo with Master
시작!
And we saw one of Madison's teammates compete just earlier today in the cadet male division. A little bit of a lean forward. Want to keep that torso nice and tall throughout all of these movements.
Well, her legs really want to push up. Really nice kick height on that last line. And Madison's going to get a 6.0.
시작!
I think her arms and legs are just really long, and so just needs to work on controlling them a little bit. Like when she was doing those front kicks coming forwards, her arms were flying out a little bit, so just keeping them nice and tight during the kicks and then really watching that they don't go below the belt. Her belt is quite high on her body. It makes her legs look so long. I think she could push her belt down just a little bit and give herself some more room for her hand techniques, because right now a lot of them are dipping way below the belt, which could be a deduction.
Right. She's all arms and legs. Lucky her.
Cadet.
So great to have a small torso and just be nothing but long legs like she has. That would be fantastic. 5.87 for Madison's second form. So she had a 6.0. Nice score for the first. She's going to finish with a 5.935. Up next, we have Eileen Martinez Mejia. Eileen is from Indiana. She trains at Olympic Panthers Taekwondo under Raul Martinez.
Look at this basement location we have here. Maybe we see that wooden support beam. I'm hoping she doesn't come too far forward into that beam. Here we go.
That's exciting. With the walls right there, she has to be really
so
careful.
tight.
That, right. She might have to be cutting these stances a little short.
Yeah, so it looks like she's coming down in about a walking stance length. After you do that knee motion, the punches down, you're supposed to go forward a whole front stance length into the rib cage punches. So she just looked like maybe she was running out of space. We are going to have to lengthen out some of those stances.
So Eileen gets a 5.73 for Chiljung. She looked like maybe she was looking at that rear wall during that motion. So there might be a bit of a deduction for that in the accuracy score. Nice high front kick though. Oh, she's flexible. She can really push it up. Like many of the athletes, so finishing up a little bit to the side. Take a Paul Jones tricky like that.
Well, Aylin has a really great attitude towards training. She's done a lot of training during the pandemic with her dad, and says if something doesn't come out, she just keeps trying until she gets it. So that's a great attitude for Poomsae.
Great attitude. I do that all the time too. It doesn't quite always work out how I plan, but just get back out there and try it again. 5.815 for Eileen Martinez. This is Emma Haddock from South Carolina. She trains at Master Kim's World Class Taekwondo. Well, nice speed on the back line here. This is probably the strongest line ever Poomsae Taeguk Chiljung. So Emma gets a 6.87 for Chiljung. So that's the highest score so far. So putting her into first place if she can hold on to this.
And this is an interesting two forms, right? For the cadet men or cadet males, we had Taeguk 8 followed by choreo. So that's in order. And now for the ladies here, we have Taeguk 7 followed by Taeguk 8. So another sequential order of the Poomsaes in the random draw.
Did you see that front kick?
That flew up there. Wow. Holy cow.
Wow. Now, if she could keep that support leg straight, that would be exceptional. So she's right on the right track and really trying to finish each technique. Very nice finishes there for Emma Haddock from South Carolina. She got the highest score so far on her first Poomsae, 6.87. And look at that, 7.1 for the second. First 7 we've seen in the division so
Yeah.
far. So she's going to finish with a 6.985.
준비.
Up next, we have Hannah Ashley Silva from New York.
So here is another athlete who is just very high, Dawn. So she's 13 years old and she's testing for her third Poom black belt certification,
Wow.
April 23rd. So that
Wow.
is just any day now. She is going to be going for that third Poom. So good luck to Hannah. I'm sure this was a great practice and warm up to get you ready, feel some pressure before that test.
And Hannah gets a 6.5 for children. I think it would have been a 6.8, but she got a major deduction for looking in the wrong direction with the first elbow strike, looking to the left rather than into the direction she was moving toward, the rear wall.
Nice long stance, staying low here. Could use a little more hip rotation. I'm always impressed when people can do Poomsae with their glasses on. Mine always never stay on my face.
Next step for Hannah, probably adding a little bit more volume onto the hand technique. So she gets nice, long, strong movements. She got a 6.5 on the first one though, so that's a pretty good score. That was the second highest score. And now a 6.23. So she'll finish with a 6.365 in this preliminary round of the Female Cadet Division. This is Lindsay Kim from Connecticut. She trains at World Champion Taekwondo with Henny Kim and Gunsu Kim.
Wow, great front kicks there. Really nice vertical torso. She also looks quite tall. Long limbs.
Heel pop and a little bit of a heel, pivot rather than the ball of the foot pivot on that. So let's see if it matters at all. 7.07, the highest, nope, just under the highest score. I think Emma had a 7.1 on the second Poomsae.
Right, but highest score for this first form.
For sure, and by quite a bit. The second highest score was at 6.87.
And here we'll get to see some front kicks from both the front and the sides. So this could be a nice way to boost up her presentation even higher.
We were mentioning in the male division that their stances were on the short side, with the girls, a lot of them now, a little bit longer. Lindsay's doing a pretty good job of lengthening these stances out.
Yeah, here we go with these front kicks.
Wow. So
Oh.
really nice.
Little bit of a crossed over stance there to the back. I think I saw her right foot crossed over her left. So be careful
didn't see
there.
that.
Be careful on the last bar as you try and make it back to your mark.
Almost everybody tonight has been ending up a little bit to the left. So she gets a 6.87. That's going to put her in a really good spot. 6.970. Now into second place for Lindsay Kim. Here are our standings so far with Emma Haddock in first, followed by Lindsay Kim, Kira Perigo, Hannah Silva, Madison Purser, and Aileen Martinez. This is Jeannie Kwok from Taekwondo Tigers. She trains in California with Master Haijin Jung.
Little bit of hips sticking out there, so she needs to tuck those hips underneath so we don't get that curve in the back, especially on that last line there of Chiljong.
That's what really shows, right? I mean, of all the Poomsae, it's children that really shows that lower back, that arch that kind of throws off the posture.
Right.
So Jeannie got a 6.63 on the first Poomsae. I think that's about the third highest score so far.
Yeah, we don't have a huge spread here, but we do have about a 5.8 to a 6.9. So it is over a point, and she's in the, upper half of the sixes. So for now, that's good. We don't have any combined score in the 7, but with 32 athletes, we are going to have higher scores coming in, I'm sure, as we get to the rest of the flight here.
So she bumps up her score a bit, 6.87. That was the same score that Lindsay Kim got that just right before her. So she finishes with a 6.750. I think that puts her into third, if I'm not mistaken. This is Hyunhwa Jung. Hyunhwa is from Taekwondo Tigers in Palo Alto.
Pretty
Good.
good length on the stances.
I like the effort into trying to finish every single step before moving to the next. So she's really working on her finishes there. She gets a 6.9.
Great high front kick coming forward. We'll get to see another look here. I'm seeing a bunch of athletes on Paul Jung here, Coach Brand, on the transition from here into the 8 count. They're clicking that back leg out in kind of a harsh motion versus the soft transition. What are we looking at these days?
Yeah, we don't really need to, nice kick, by the way. We don't need to sell that transition with the foot. We want to have a calm transition there and highlight the hand technique rather than the stance moving very sharply. That's not necessary.
So in all of these transitions, it's good. We want that click, but into the 8 count from the parallel stance into the front stance, just make that a softer transition. You don't have to click that leg out.
So that's Hyunhwa Jung. She received a 6.97 for this, following the 6.9. So she's going to finish with a 6.935. This is Cadence
Three.
Elise Santos.
시작.
Cadence trains in Oregon at US World Class Taekwondo in Troutdale.
Couple of heel pops. We want to keep that heel on the ground during the transitions.
She looks like she's being very careful about where to finish the technique. Like, where is the ending of all of those? And trying to place her hand technique in the right finishing spot. So then that next step for her is just adding that speed and power to get to that point. That's Cadence Elise Santos, and she got was that a 6.37?
Yeah, I think so.
시작.
So see what I mean? She's really careful about where to finish that, which is a great start. And then after that, adding the speed and the power. We need a little rotation here and a little bit lower position.
Yeah, she's coming up and down in between the stances as she's transitioning, so staying low will
Nice
help.
front kick. Those front kicks look very easy for her. So just think about when she starts really driving through the support foot through the ground and using that to boost up the kick, she'll be going much higher.
바로. 쇼. 차렷. 교내.
So Cadence get a 6.5 for this form, higher than her first form, Chiljung. So she'll finish with a 6.435. Up next, we have Amanda Lee from Florida. She trains at American Tiger Martial Arts with Kathy Doe. A little low on those back fists. I think those are meant for the philtrum, right?
Right.
Oh, heel pop to transition. Got to keep the heel down there.
Overall, I like her hand techniques. A couple of accuracy errors to work through with Coach Kathy, but some really nice things. I think her Poomsae will really just pop once she cleans up some of those accuracy.
Yeah, her body's very calm. So she should have an easy time making these adjustments.
Good hip rotation.
Nice turn there. Whoa, nice high front kick. And good posture on that second kick.
I think this should be a higher score. I'm not seeing too many deductions for accuracy that I would take.
Right, much stronger, really good body control throughout the Poomsae. That's Amanda Lee. She received a 6.6 for the first, and yeah, a little boost, like you said, 6.76 for the second. So she'll finish with a 6.680. This is
준비.
Ali Kolbach. And Ali's from California. She
시작.
trains at Watsonville Taekwondo Academy.
We have a couple sets of twins in the US Open. Allie is a twin. Her sister Haley also competes and will be competing in the tournament as well. They're 13. We also had in the senior 2 male division in the first session, there was a pair of twins from South Korea who took 1 and 2 in that division. So it's always fun to see.
Right. If you haven't seen that episode, it's really good. It's a great one to go back and check out. So Illy gets 6.16. I like the effort in her stances. So she has a little bit more length than some of the athletes.
시작.
A little bit off center on those punches.
Right.
Really trying to get the length here, but that front knee not quite bent enough. So as she's getting this rotation, it's getting, the angle's getting bigger and bigger. But she has great front kick flexibility. Let's see here from the side.
Yeah, she really does. And then she goes into the next stance very nicely.
Yeah, all those tiger stances a little bit long. But here she's in the, I believe, in the M Team garage. So she has some good coaches there. I think she's in the CPP program. So she has a lot of coaches to work with to help clean up some of those little accuracy things, which will definitely boost her score up.
Right, so she gets a higher score with this one, 6.46, 6.16 for the first one. And she'll finish with a 6.3. This is Erin Lawlor. Erin is from North Carolina. She trains at Tyra Kim's world-class Taekwondo with Handong Yoon. She's really trying to put in some power on the hand technique.
Yeah, she has legs for days. So we need to just extend those stances, make them a little bit longer. Make sure these horse stances are nice and parallel. Sink into like a squat instead of thinking about bending your knees and like just sit in a chair, basically. That's not there.
And she gets a 5.6 for Taegu Chiljang. She has really good balance when she uses the power, so she can definitely probably go down a little bit lower in these stances. Wow, nice front kick speed there.
Her legs are so long. Boom.
Yeah. It almost looks like two legs. So hot. Right. So the main thing, she's got all this power. It's great. So we just need to throw it a little bit later into the movement, right? So not sheer power all the way through. That's something we all have to learn, especially those of us that just want to attack, attack, attack all the time. We have to know when to throw that power. So she gets a 5.87, so a nice boost from the first one. So she'll finish with a 5.735. So here are our standings so far with Emma Haddock in first, and right behind her, Lindsay Kim, Hyunhwa Jung, Jeannie Kwok, Amanda Lee, Cadet Santos, Kira Perigo, and Hannah Silva. So how many are we looking for total to move into the semifinal round, Miyako?
16 out of 32.
16. So the top 16 in the preliminary rounds, what we'll take to the semifinal. This is Isabel Zarobsky. Isabel trains in Colorado with US Taekwondo Center under Hojun Park.
바로
So Isabel gets a 6.7. I thought she had a lot of good power in that performance. Let's see how she does with the next form.
시작.
All right, nice and low to start off, but a little up and down motion on that first line. So she just needs to stay nice and low, keep rotating here, and then stay low on the transition. Came up and down again, so that's going to factor into the presentation score. So she wants to stay low on this one as well. Good job on that. And really high front kick. Wow.
Yeah. Holy cow,
Wow.
just right in her face.
바로 쇼 차렷
Thank
경례
you, Paul John. Really tough for a lot of athletes to get back to their mark. So she gets a 6.74. So what do you do, Miyako? I don't do that form for my division, but do you cheat? Or do you
Of
do
course
it?
not. Of course not. You just do it accurately and you get back to your mark.
That's right.
But where I see some people cheat, maybe,
준비.
is on the front kicks to the back. You can jump a little bit to the left, a few inches there.
시작.
I've seen people try and extend the last stance to get further on the last move. I've seen people after the 8 counts, when you go into the double knife hand punch front kick and slide back on those 2 steps there, you can slide a little bit over a few
Cheating.
inches here and there. Not that I would know.
Yeah. This is Cameron Ogawa from California. She trains at Elite Taekwondo Center under Kwangil Bay.
바로.
Wow, huge score, 7.2 with Cameron's first Poomsae.
Taking a look at my notes, I think that's the highest
Gee,
score
that
so
That
far.
is. I was doing the same thing. I think Lindsay had the second highest one with a 7.07. She's doing a really good job here. Nice rotation through the beginning of this technique. Taking her time and staying level on the transition. Because she's a little far from the camera, it's really hard to appreciate her power. So I know I can see her body moving like that. It's just difficult with a video. I would suggest maybe come up a few more mats.
Right.
샷.
She
차렷.
got a big score on the
Okay.
first one, so hopefully that wasn't a factor in the second one. No, not at all, but maybe something to think about in the future. She got a 7.3. So now she's in the top spot with a 7.250. And the first one over 7 with a combined score, right?
That's right.
So this is Livia Vial. And Livia is from Kansas. She trains at Zhang's Taekwondo Martial Arts under Jaeho Zhang.
This is Olivia's first time in the cadet division. Last year, she was in the youth division where she finished 7th in the summer of Poomsae. So now getting to be in this division, and she's opening up nice and strong, pretty clean, clear in her techniques.
Yeah, it's great that we have, look, very good posture here. So it really pays off when these athletes start young in these younger divisions. She gets a 6.87. So we have the youth division, and then we have the lions and the tigers and the bears before that, and the monkeys before them. So
The crickets, the tiny little
yeah,
ones.
so much opportunity for these young athletes. It's really paying off. Little rise and fall in between these steps. You really need to keep it level.
And Livia is another one of our young athletes who earned her 2nd degree black belt earlier this spring. And all of her practices, the belt test, all of the filming she did totally masked. So that's just so impressive. The training, the consistency for all of that, just really great job.
Congratulations on the second dan. So I think the presentation score might have been impacted by the up and down nature of the movement. So I think once that gets taken care of, we'll see her scores go way up. So she'll finish with a 6.750. And up next, we have Olivia Saw from Connecticut. She trains at World Champion Taekwondo in Fairfield Town. She has a right idea. I think she just needs to go out a little bit more with these hand techniques and express some more volume. I think sometimes we try to control our hand techniques a bit much, and so we don't let them go out to their full length where they really want to go. Let them go. But she gets a big score, 7.1.
She has a good understanding of the rhythm and tempo, so her connections are where they need to be. Nice and quick double punches, connecting, coming forward. And doing a better job here of extending these stances than she did in the first form.
It's just a little wide here in the stance, and a little bit short.
Nice height on the front kick, a little bit of a bend in the base leg. So work on just trying to keep that base leg really locked. Stand up nice and tall when you're going into those front stances. Nice clean techniques overall.
So that's Olivia Saw from Connecticut, training at World Champion Taekwondo in Fairfield Town. She gets a 6.9, so a little drop between those two Poomsae. She's going to finish with a nice 7.0. That puts her in a really good position. This is Katie Yoshida from Elite Taekwondo Center in California.
So here again, these athletes I remember from a previous tournament, they just start too far back. They look so small in my screen. But she's doing a really nice job with some of these hand techniques being clean.
Yeah, when they're really far back, it's hard to tell exactly where the hand techniques are finishing. So I don't know if that's a good strategy or a bad strategy. But it does definitely impact the power, right, that we see on the screen. So the closer you are, the more power we get to see. 7.36 is a great score to start off for Katie Yoshida.
Right, new high score.
Right, she's got some nice high kicking technique.
Punches a little low there.
A nice height on the front kick. Really nice height, and really good posture. She's really trying to push off that support leg and not bend it a ton. So.
Right, I was going to say that's a good example of keeping that locked bottom leg rather than letting it collapse a little bit.
And that is going to move up her presentation score. So she got a 7.36 on the first one, and then a nice high 7.3. So I think easily into first place with that score. Her total is going to be 7.33. Is the closest we have to that is 7.250 with Cameron?
Yes.
This is Christina Chavez
시작.
She trains, as we see on the back there, Spirit Taekwondo in Nevada. I remember this converted garage space, I think, from the Grand Slam.
Yeah. Really taking her time here.
Nice sharp turn. Good, really trying to push the power.
바로
That is Christina Chavez from Nevada. She gets a 6.7. Thanks to the parents who are probably parking
시작.
outside so that Christina can have this training space. Punch is a little bit off there, so we want to make sure those are really lined up to the solar plexus.
These front stances, just like in 7 when she was up near the screen, the front stances are just a little bit short.
Right. Well, that kick looked really good, so close to the camera and straight up. And she's really making sure that she's finishing. She might be holding that just a beat too long.
Yeah, it stops the rhythm when the pauses are that long. So we want the clean freeze, but as soon as you kind of
Pearl.
click that into place, you want to move on to the next move.
샷.
So Christina got a 6.7 for her first form. And she's going to follow that up with a 6.46.
Bit of a spread there on the accuracy, but do remember we dropped the high and the low average, the middle 3.
Right, she'll finish with a 6.58. And here are our standings so far with Kaylee Yoshida in first, followed by Cameron Ogawa, Olivia Saw, Emma Haddock, Lindsay Kim, Hyunhwa Jung, Olivia Vial, and Jeannie Kwak. Those are the top 8, but we are going all the way up to the top 16, right, Miyako?
That's right. We have 32 athletes in this flight, top 16. So we're looking for the top half of the flight to move on to the semis.
Right, so right now the cutoff is 5.935, but that is likely to change pretty quick. This is Ciara Almeraz, and she is from
시작.
US Taekwondo Center. She trains in Colorado with Sean Jung. So really nice high kicks to start off with, a little bit of head nodding forward as she's throwing those. So you were talking about how far the athletes have to go forward on this line. So what was the length there, Miyako? Front stance length?
Yeah, it's a full front stance length from when you have that knee up in the air and you're punching down towards your ankles. You don't want to just put your foot down at like a walking stance. You want to do a full front stance length distance, just like you do with Yukjong after the round kicks.
So Ciara gets a 6.240. Did you say punching toward the ankles?
Yeah, when your knee's coming up and your hands
Stop.
punching down
Oh, okay.
to the height of the ankle.
But it's really not a punch.
Well, but your hand is in a fist.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're talking about Paljong now, Coach Brand.
I was imagining how that would work, punching somebody in the ankle. Nice and slow here. A little bit more body rotation, I think she'll have it. Her kicks are nice and high, so watch this. She just has a little nod, so we just got her back is in a good position. So just keeping that head back. So you just got to tuck that chin in, right? Have you ever had that issue come up? You just have to tuck your chin back.
Yeah, I definitely had a few years where I had a lot of head bobbing on the kicks. So just really tucking it in, thinking about keeping a pole through your head all the way down your spine. And then you just can't move it. It keeps your head in place.
6.4. I don't want that image. I don't want to. 6.32 for Yara Almaraz. So right now that was above the cutoff, so good job. This is Sydney Abarientos, and she is from Connecticut. She too trains at World Champion Taekwondo in Fairfield Town under Chulnun Kim and Gunsu Kim.
Nice long legs. We won't get to see any more front kicks in this form, but in the next one, we'll get to see her front kicks in Paljang. But here we get to look at all these hand techniques.
Good posture. You have a big arch there. Ooh, big score, 7.2.
시작.
Lots of power and good volume on that big turn there. Oh, really nice front kick coming up toward the camera.
Some of these push blocks are getting a little far away from the body. I think we just need to measure and make sure that they don't go too far.
Right. I think she's going to get a big score, though. So she got a
Yeah,
7.2
definitely.
on the first one. I think maybe even higher on this one. She had some really good turns, really good speed into her turns. Oh, I was so not in line with the referees, but Sydney, I think you should have got a higher score.
Yeah, we liked it.
My opinion doesn't matter at all, but I thought that was really good. 7.115.
준비.
This is Valerie Larson
시작.
from Colorado. She trains at US Taekwondo Center in Aurora under Sean Jung. Lots of athletes today from Colorado.
Valerie is 14 and she got her second Poom black belt last year. I'm just so impressed with all these young athletes already up in the second and third Pooms at 12 to 14 years old.
Oh, they're putting in the time. She got a 6.87. That's a nice strong score.
시작.
Nice back here, but she could tuck those hips underneath a little bit more.
Very nice front kick.
Yeah.
Lots of potential with this. Trying to really boost up from the ground. I like that effort there. And trying to get the straight support leg. It's not all the way straight, but it's definitely on its way.
She had a couple of heel pops in the second to last line. Just keep those on the ground. Those could be a 0.1 deduction every time that heel pops up. So it is something you definitely want to try and scrub out.
And she gets a 6.93. So that follows her 6.87. So she'll finish with a 6.9.
준비.
Up next, we have Celine Allersmeyer from Missouri. She trains at Woosat's Taekwondo under Scott Ferguson.
feeling it's a little bit stiff in some of her upper body motions. If she relaxed her shoulders, maybe let her core turn with some of these techniques, it would make her look a little softer to give a nice contrast of motion.
Yeah, so she's trying for a real linear, clean finish, I think is what she's going for. And that all looks good. So now it's just learning when to relax and when to explode on the power. So I like her safe, measured tone as she's going through it. So now we just need to relax through the first 80% of that motion.
She's had some really great results recently. She competed in the AAU Virtual Winter Nationals that just happened recently, and their online nationals, as well as the J Calico UK Poomsae Championships, and medaled in some of those events. And she's in the top third of the US National Poomsae rankings. So this is another great tournament for her to be in, because she's going to get some ranking points here just by participating in this 12.0 major event.
Right, she had a pretty good sized error on that line going to the rear. So maybe she can check everybody else's Poomsae in the division and learn. She moved the incorrect foot, moving the back foot from the back stance to a front stance rather than moving the front stance. Front foot, sorry, moving from the back stance to the front stance, she moved the back foot rather than the front foot. She got a 7.12. All things considered, very strong. This is Sofia Hernandez from Texas. She trains at Team Forge Taekwondo with AJ Munoz.
Sophia has some nice long legs. Those two front kicks we got to see at the beginning, not quite fully locked in the front kick, but really flexible, so flying up nice and high. Geez, I feel like 2/3 of her body is just leg. She could make those stances even a little bit longer.
And she gets a 7.260 for the first form.
시작.
Could have a little more hip rotation here. She's mostly doing arms. Geez, look at those kicks.
Nice extension there up front.
Pretty good job on those hand techniques. I think a nice clean finish overall. Just work on the locking of the legs on the front kicks to go with the flexibility that she has.
So a little lower there with a 7.13 to follow her 7.26. So she'll finish with a 7.195. And we didn't have any, just one, I think, just 1.7 for the first 13 athletes. And then since Cameron Ogawa, we've got a little pocket now full of 7. So this is going to be interesting to see where this cutoff is.
Right.
This is Jinseo Park from Kim's K Taekwondo in Georgia.
And so Jinseo here is the 24th athlete out of 32. So after she goes, we'll get to take a look at those rankings and see what the cutoff is for now. Again, we're taking the top 16, which is the half of the 32.
Wow, that's a nice score, 7.44. So it was very solid performance, consistent throughout all the technique. And so she gets that nice high score. So I think prior to that, Cameron Ogawa got a 7.2 on that form. I think Jinseo's might be the high. Am I right, Miyako?
That's right. She is the highest for now. Kaylee Yoshida also got a 7.36. We had another 7.26 Sophia just got. So we have some sevens creeping up there, but Jinseo for now in first place. And she's competed in recent team tournaments in the last year or 2 years where she's won gold in that team division. And she also did freestyle team at the 2020 US Open and they won first place.
Oh.
So we got a traditional and a freestyle athlete here.
She looks good. She really knows when to express her power. So Jinseo got a 7.44 for that first Poomsae. And now for the second, a 7.4. And we've seen that quite often in this division with that second Poomsae coming in at a lower score. So she'll finish with a 7.420, now into first place. So she's followed by Kaylee Yoshida, Cameron Ogawa, Sofia Hernandez, Celine Allersmeyer, Sydney Abarientos, Olivia Saw, and Emma Haddock. Those are the top 8, but we are taking all the way to the top 16. So we'll see where that cutoff is now. So right at 6.580.
And we have just 8 athletes left to finish out tonight.
Up next, we have Haley Ferguson. Haley is from South Carolina. She trains at Master Kim's World Class Taekwondo under Jun Kim.
She has some nice click in her stances, really locking it out. But I think she could soften up her shoulders a little bit between moves. They're a little bit tense.
Yeah, a little like Celine, right? Our athlete that was just 3, slots ago. So she looks really strong, 7.16. I think she has maxed out her kick height right now. She looks like she is hitting her peak on those kicks. So that's good to see that she's really pushing those up.
Looking a little bit more calm coming forward, but some of those punches drifting just off the center line are a little bit low. Nice tight cat stances. A lot of times we see athletes do that bar and there's just too much of a gap, almost like a walking stance gap between the toe and the heel, but she had a nice tight, is it a tiger stance or a cat stance?
Tiger.
Tiger stance. Leopard stance, I mean, whatever.
She did a good job on that back line. She saved her balance on that last double kick, and it's a nice reward, 7.240. She is impressive. She has a lot going for her in her ground game and lots to build from. 7.2 for Haley Ferguson. This is Abby Chu from Bayside Champions Martial Arts in New York.
Slightly different approach to the timing here, really taking her time on the setup and then shooting really fast.
Yeah, I like that. I'm really interested in seeing how the referees score this one.
Yeah.
So she's really waiting to express the power to the end of the movement and see, oh, 6.97, that didn't go over as well as she had hoped. So she gets a 6.97.
Although for now, that's still in the cutoff to make it into the semis, I think.
Right,
So-
so the accuracy was a 3, and then the presentation 3.97.
So the accuracy there, I think, actually saved her because she is
Mhm.
quite clean. But the expression of the power, I think, is just a little bit too like quick. She doesn't let the moves
Right.
develop enough before she shoots quickly.
I think maybe a little more volume. This one a little too low on both sides, so she gets a deduction there. Nice high kicking though. I see where she's going with this though. Very nice. That is Abby Chu from Bayside Champion Martial Arts. I like that club. It looks like a really well-seasoned club. It looks like it's right next to a pizzeria and I don't know, 6.83, like right in the middle of a downtown area. 6.83 for that one. So she'll finish with a 6.9. Yeah, that's well above the cutoff at 6.58. So I'd like to see more of her in the semifinal round. Looks like we're going to be able to do that. This is Julia Cho. She's also from New York. She's training with Team East under Master Suji Kong.
Really trying to push out with some longer front stances here. And we have seen Julia at the Summer of Poomsae, as well as, I believe, the US Open last year. She was there in person. So nice to see that she's continuing and getting a nice big score here.
Yeah, 7.27.
She just recently got a bronze at the AAU 2021 online tournament that they just had recently a couple of weeks ago. Here again, that long front stance.
Right, real pretty. Good
And
posture.
nice rotation.
So talk about where you want this technique to end right here, Miyako.
So we need to hit the chin, right? It has to break the shoulder plane and go up towards the chin height.
Yeah, we've seen a few a little bit too low on that one, just a scotch.
Nice front kicks.
Right, good posture on that for the most part. Most of the athletes leaning a little bit forward in that position. So that's Julia Cho from Team East in New York. And she got a 7.27 on her first Poomsae and now 7.3. So she's up in one of those top 5 spots for now. So she finished with 7.285. This is Sabrina Kim.
준비.
Sabrina is also from New York. She trains at Master Kim's Taekwondo Institute under Suji Kang as well.
Really nice flexibility on those front kicks. Good volume of motion on the hand techniques as well. So I remember in past tournaments, the athletes from the school panned left to right to try and fit in screen. here, she didn't do that, and I really appreciate it. I think it's just cleaner, it's easier to watch, it's more comfortable. She stayed in screen very easily. So that was a nice, strong form there from Sabrina.
And she gets a 7.26. Yeah, it matters. When you have a nice, clean background like this with little distraction, it can really focus on you. Good. Took some time to make sure that she was centered up on those punches.
And the front kicks. And that's her dad up there on our right. Hello, Master Sung Kim, sir. And Sabrina helps out at the dojang. This is their family dojang. She's one of their assistant instructors. And during the pandemic, they got a puppy. So I'm sure that was exciting to be at home with a dog. Lots of walks, I'm sure.
Nice reach on those front kicks to the rear. Finishing strong. And everybody's question is, am I going to get back to my mark?
I think that's where she started.
Yeah, Sabrina got a 7.26 on the first Poomsae, and now a 7.33. Nice jump, and rare in this division to go up on the second Poomsae. So she'll finish with a 7.295, just a bit over Julia Cho. This is Leora Aldiosa.
So we've seen, I believe this school is in South Carolina, and
Right.
we've seen a few athletes now coming out of the South Carolina school. It's really nice to see some of them, including in the female senior 1 division. We had an athlete come out and do really well. They're staying grounded. They're very clean in their technique. So really nice job. Congrats to the coach from this dojang. They're doing a really great job.
Right, she trains at Master Kim's World Class Taekwondo in South Carolina under Jun-Kyu Kim. So Leor's got a huge score, 7.47. And I think that's the high so far.
Yeah, just by a few hundredths there, she's able to sneak into first place. Let's see if she can hold it with Paljong. Those punches just a little low.
Yeah, little
the belt
off.
is high. It's hard. Good height there. She got a bronze at the Grand Slam that we had last year, and I remember her from that tournament. Very clean, tiny little athlete here in the cadet division, and then just really booming kicks.
I like this support leg. So really trying to come up straight, no bend, or really trying to minimize the bend during that kick. So that's Leora Aldiosa from Master Kim's World Class Taekwondo in South Carolina. She got the highest score so far with a 7.47 and now a 7.4 and into first place. She'll finish with a 7.435. This is Yuna Kim from California. She trains with Dwangale, USA under Master Sungjae Lee. Wow, she has quite a different look to her. Her movement is pretty sophisticated on that first line. She's very tall and long in those positions.
Well, we can see here she's wearing a Team USA uniform and belt, and she was on the cadet team for the national team for this past year. Would have gone to Denmark, but that tournament ended up being online and only individuals.
And only the World Championship for seniors and masters This
That's right.
last one was an open for the cadet and the junior divisions. She scores really high at 7.33.
시작.
Little low on that left block there, but very thoughtful in general about her accuracy.
She's very clean and good placement, good volume of motion on the arms, good kicks. I feel like I just wish she could click up the power by a couple notches. But she's, 12 years old, so fairly new into this division. She has some time to grow and work on that power over the coming years.
Right. One thing on her side, definitely, she has a very calm
경례.
persona on the mat. She looks like she's in control and relaxed through the movements. She gets a 7.3 to follow up her 7.33. So she'll finish with a 7.315. And here are our standings so far. We have Leora Aliosa in first place, followed by Jinseo Park, Kaylee Yoshida, Yuna Kim, Sabrina Kim, Julia Cho, Cameron Ogawa, who's in first for quite a long time, and Haley Ferguson, Sofia Hernandez, Celine Allersmeyer, Sydney Abarientos, Olivia Song. We're taking the top 16, so we'll continue with Emma Haddock, Lindsay Kim, Hyunhwa Jung, and Valerie Larson. Those are our top 16 so far, but that number just went up for the cutoff, right? We're at 6.9, and that was a tie there with Valerie and Abby. So Abby just out of the action by a hair.
That's right, and we have 2 athletes left. So again, that cutoff right now is a 6.90, but if you're right in that range, if you were at number 15 or 16, we got to see how these last 2 athletes go, and they're both very strong.
And this is Miriam Abdel Rasul from Eagle Taekwondo in Southern California. And she's had some really strong performances in past USAT tournaments.
Yeah, that's right. She got a silver at the Summer of Poomsae, and she won the Grand Slam. So she actually has a major win and is on the roster because of that Grand Slam win. So we'll see here if she can stay at the top of the rankings again.
It's really strong. A little bit leaning forward on some of these movements on that other side, but in general, really strong. It's almost like they have to help her probably sometimes, I'm imagining, turn down some of that power. Wow, she looks great. 7.27 for Miriam Abdel Rasul.
시작.
Yeah, elbows out a little bit on the front kicks. And a little short here on the stances.
I feel like she's grown. I mean, she was 12 last year, her first year in the division. She's still 12, but I think she'll be turning 13 this year, and she's so tall. And I know we said that last time, but I think she might just be growing still and needs to make sure that those stances continue to match her height.
Yeah, whenever I see her, I think she's about to age up. Look at that thigh right next to her torso. That was beautiful. She
Yeah,
can
she
really chain it tight.
She could really compete in the Senior 1 division.
바로. 쉬어. 차렷. 경례.
And a 7.2 to follow up her 7.27. So she'll finish the prelim with a 7.235, and now we're going to see our final competitor of this preliminary round. This is Lana Moraleda from California. She trains with the Wangale USA and the Master Sangye Lee.
And Lana has won a lot of tournaments. She's been on the national team. Here we see another national team uniform and belt, both for cadet female team as well as I think she's medaled in individual. I think she won the Summer of Poomsae.
She has a little bit of a lower back arch going into that last line there. She finishes with a 7.16 for Cheoljong.
시작.
Nice and steady through these movements. Looks very similar to her teammate Yuna on this same line, nice and calm.
It's a really nice big volume of motion on these hand techniques.
Those front kicks going up real close to her torso too. She can chamber in really tight and get that knee up to her shoulder before she kicks. It's kind of deceptive with the video. We can't really appreciate how fast those kicks are going up on the screen here. If we saw those in person, I'm sure they would knock us over. That's a 7.13 for Lana Moraleda from Dwangale, USA. So she started with a 7.16 on the first one. So she'll finish the 7.145. And I think that's enough to get her to the semifinal round. So here are the standings at the end of the preliminary round of the female cadet division, with Leora Aldiosa in first place, followed by Jinseo Park, Kaylee Yoshida, Yuna Kim, Sabrina Kim, Julia Cho, Cameron Ogawa, and Miriam Abdaloso. So we're going to take all the way up to the top 16 though. So we'll see that on the upcoming screen here. Lindsay Kim getting that last coveted spot with that 6.970 score. Pretty high score.
Yeah, so close to a 7, and that actually is what I think we saw the guys finish out with. It was just around a 7.
Time to train, everybody. Time to train. So we'll see these athletes again in the semifinal round coming up soon on a upcoming episode of the USA TKD US Open.